After World War II, the United States basically wrote the rule book for global economy. That system was called Bretton Woods. It shaped trade, money, and international cooperation for decades. Today, that order is breaking down. And the biggest question hanging over the world economy is this: is China going to write the rules of whatever comes next? Stick around. The answer is more complicated and more active than most people realized. For most of the century, the global economy ran on a strange partnership. The United States acted as world's ultimate consumer. China acted as the world's unrivaled workshop and capital building machine. This division of labor shaped trade flows, interest rates, and power balances. But this partnership is fraying. Both sides are hitting internal limits and external friction. Look at the basic numbers. Economists break an economy into consumption, investment, government spending, and net exports. In the United States, private consumption dominates. Deep financial markets, easy credit, the dollar's reserve status, and the wealth effect from risking stock and home value keep household spending. Production follows demand. China runs opposite model. Investment routinely takes more than 40% of the GDP, roughly double the American share. Household consumption sits more than 20% point lower. This is deliberate design. Low returns for savers, cheap credit steered towards industry and infrastructure, local government racing to hit growth targets by building, and heavy subsidies for strategic manufacturing. China builds capacity first and relies on the rest of the world to absorb the output. China's 2001 entry into the World Trade Organization supercharged this model. Its economy multiplied nearly tenfold in the following years. By 2023, it produced almost 30% of global manufacturing goods, more than the United States, Japan, and Germany combined. It remains the top merchandiser, exporter, shipping trillions of dollars of products every year. Trade changed daily life in an unexpected way. Distant shoppers helped create new Chinese industries. Without Chinese scale, globalization would have stayed mostly a rich country club. With China, cheaper goods reached almost every household in the developed world. The cost showed up too. Regions in the United States and Europe most exposed to Chinese imports saw lasting jobs and wage losses. Many voters started questioning the deal. China also began treating interdependence as leverage through subsidies, overcapacity, and selective pressure. The response was tariffs, de-risking, and friend-shoring. The United States, Europe, Brazil, India, Turkey, and others raised barriers. Chinese model faces a hard limit. It cannot keep expanding manufacturing capacity faster than the world is willing to absorb it. While the United States has raised tariffs and talks about containment, China is moving aggressively on two fronts at once. First, trade architecture. Beijing is pursuing roughly 20 free trade agreements and deeper ties with major economic blocs, the European Union, the Gulf states, a trans-Pacific partnership that grew out of an earlier American-led effort, and others. The goal is to embed Chinese manufacturing so deeply into the world's biggest markets that partners cannot easily decouple under American pressure. Recent moves include tariff cuts on Chinese electric vehicles in a deal with Canada, zero tariff access offered to dozens of African countries, fresh pushes towards the European Union and Gulf Cooperation Council, and upgraded digital and AI-focused arrangement with Southeast Asian neighbors. China is pitching itself as the defender of multilateralism at the very moment the United States is disrupting the old arrangements. Second, and this is the deeper shift, the monetary and the financial system itself. Since 1945, international financial order has rested on American foundations. The dollar dominance, institutions born from Bretton Woods, and networks such as SWIFT, messaging, and dollar clearing system. Today, the dollar still accounts for roughly 89% of foreign exchange transactions, 57% of global reserves, and more than half of export invoicing. That gives Washington extraordinary leverage through sanctions. Tools such as secondary sanctions can effectively cut companies or countries out of the global financial system. China increasingly sees these architectures not just as convenient infrastructure but as strategic vulnerability, a potential national security and energy security threat. Recent American sanctions on Chinese refineries accused of handling Iranian oil pushed the issue into the open. Beijing's response was unusually direct, a formal blocking order stating that China would not recognize or enforce those sanctions and that foreign firms cooperating with them could face consequences inside China. At the same time, China has been building alternatives. The cross-border interbank payment system offers a yuan-based settlement channel. The digital yuan is being developed for cross-border use. Dozens of bilateral currency swap agreements allow trade to settle without dollar. Projects such as multi-central bank digital currency bridge aims to create payment corridors outside traditional Western networks. Because China is already the largest trading partner for more than 150 countries, these tools have a ready foundation, especially in Southeast Asia, Central Asia, Africa, the Middle East, and energy deals priced in yuan. None of this means that dollar is about to disappear. American markets still offer unmatched liquidity, depth, and institutional credibility. But the direction is clear. China is working to reduce the points at which the United States can unilaterally interrupt the trade and finance. Other countries watching the use of financial sanctions are exploring similar diversification. The result is a slow polarization of the financial world into overlapping but increasingly distinct spheres. Both economic models face serious tests. American consumption-led system is under growing fiscal pressure. Federal debt held by the public has now surpassed 100% of GDP, a milestone last seen right after World War II. Back then, the ratio fell quickly thanks to strong growth and occasional surpluses. This time, the trajectory points to the other way. Official projections show debt climbed towards 175% of the GDP by the mid-2050. The drivers are clear. The cost of the past crisis, an aging population, and rising entitlement spending, repeated tax cuts not matched by spending restraint, and a snowballing interest bill. Interest rates have risen sharply. 30-year Treasury yields recently hit heavy, not seen since 2007. Net interest payments by the federal government now exceed the entire defense budget. The government is issuing new bonds simply to pay interest on the old ones, unlike Japan, which carries an even higher debt ratio but holds most of it domestically. The United States relies heavily on foreign investors. When broader obligations such as Social Security and Medicare are included, the long-term picture looks even more strained. Public concern exists. Polls show many Americans rank deficits and debt among their top economic worries. Yet, political action remains limited. Large new spending packages continues to move forward while serious efforts to stabilize or reduce the debt ratio are scarce. Economists note that no sudden crisis has hit yet, which makes inaction the easier political path. But the longer the ratio climbs, the less fiscal space remains for the next emergency, and the more the government competes with the private sector for capital. China's investment-led system faces its own constraints. Diminishing returns are more infrastructure, large inventories are empty housing, relatively suppressed household living standards, and growing resistance from trade partners who no longer want to absorb unlimited excess production. Long-term forecast currently sees American growth holding near 2%, supported by technology and flexible institutions, while China's growth is expected to slow as demographics worsen and the old high investment model loses force. A major conflict over Taiwan would upend both paths. So back to the core question. The original Bretton Woods system was written when the United States held unmatched power and a much stronger fiscal position. Today, the balance is different. China has the manufacturing scale, technological capacity, and global reach to demand a larger role. More than that, it is actively trying to build the alternative trade networks and the parallel financial plumbing that could form the skeleton for a new order, one less dependent on American preferences and less exposed to American sanctions. At the same time, America's rising debt trajectory and the political difficulty of correcting it weakens the foundations of the old system and create openings of the alternatives. Whether Chinese succeed depend on several things. Can it balance its own economy so partners see mutual benefit rather than one-sided surplus? Can the yuan and Chinese payment system gain enough trust and liquidity to become genuine alternative? And will the other economies decide that deeper integration with China is safer than continued reliance on a more fiscal constrained and unpredictable United States? The old marriage of opposites, America consumes, China produces, is ending. The contest has moved beyond the tariff and technology into the rules and infrastructure of global money itself. China is not waiting for an invitation to the next rule-writing session. It is already designing pieces of the new system. The outcome is still open, but the effort is real, systematic, and already underway. What do you think? Will China's dual push, new trade deals plus alternative financial channels succeed in shaping the next economic order, or will the dollar's deep advantages, partners' concern over Chinese overcapacity, and sheer inertia of the existing system keep the old order dominant for longer? And how much does America's rising debt change the calculation? Drop your thoughts in the comments.